Okay, we're back with Mr. Donna Hatcher. Finally, I'm gonna get him alone. I thought I'm gonna have to strangle some people just to get him by itself without all the noise. Now listen at the cars zooming up, cranking up. Now, what were you saying, Mr. Hatcher, darling?
Well, with the conversation, you was talking to another individual, and you was talking about somebody want to hire somebody to work on the farms. Well, that's not minimum wage. They don't pay minimum wage. They either pay them by how much they pick or whatever the deal might be. And so it's a minimum wage, or you got to be a heck of a worker to make anything. It's not an easy matter. But those people who live in the country, I guess they don't need as much, or ain't used to having as much, whatnot. So it's a different ball game altogether. It's a different ball game.
I want to talk to you about so much, Mr. Hatcher. Tell us about the history of the Redskins, number one. The mayor of this city has gone and brought the Redskins here, but the way I feel, and I've been a Redskin fan just about all my life, but the way I feel is that they have been brought here to suck finances out of the city, that they won't play any games here, and the only thing they're going to do is practice here, and the citizens might get to see them practice, but look at the money they'll be drawing out of the city. I don't understand. Tell me about the history of the Redskins, Mr. Hatcher.
Well, not only the Redskins. If you go back into the 40s, how many blacks played for any of those teams? Blacks was barred from every one of them. But the Redskins were noticeable for the simple fact that the man who owned the Redskins made a statement back in, I think, 1949 or 48, around there, that a black would never play on his team. Well, how many years later did the baseball teams take in two blacks, one in the National League, one in the American League? One was Jackie Robinson, the other one was Larry Doby. Well, how many years did it go before they took in other blacks? And Jackie was most notable because Jackie played in different places, and the whites would call him all kinds of names and out of his name and everything else. So he had a hell of a burden on him, putting up with, as good a player as he was, putting up with what was going on. It wasn't an easy job. And Jackie had a history of fighting against discrimination. He was in the United States Army, and he didn't go along with how blacks were being treated. So it's a lot to a lot of this stuff, and you got to stop and look, how old did Jackie get taking all the treatment that he took? That had to work on him being a man and being in a league that was all white. It's a lot to it. Even though he was as good as he was, it still played with your mind. Your mind got to take a lot. You can't act out and let everybody know how you feel. You got to go along and take the mess and try to open the door for somebody else. So it's a lot to all this stuff.
Now, it's just so much going on, corruption in our city, Mr. Hatcher. You know about it. Tell me.
It's all over the world. When the American white man goes anywhere he goes in the world, he plays his game and bring up to everybody around that blacks in America are nothing. They take all the mistreatment. If blacks are stationed or blacks in the military where he's at, he plays down us as being black folks, and he does all his dirt. So when you stop and think, what is going on? White folks are 15% of the world's population. At some point, it's going to turn against them. The dirt they have done and what they've done. The white folks in America today is at a loss for reproduction. The white man now have got to go marry outside of his race to keep his race alive. Is he keeping his race alive, or is he dilute himself?
Mm-hmm.
When he's at the point right now where his race, in order to him to keep living, he got to marry outside of his race and have kids and all outside of his race. Of course, he would call them white, but are they white or what? mean, it's a lot to deal with.
Now, did you hear there was a country, Mr. Hatch, and I was so glad that stopped the wealthy Caucasians from adopting their children. I don't know whether it was Russia or China, but it was one of those big countries, and they say they refuse to let any more of their children be adopted by the Americans here. Now, the way I look at it, Mr. Hatcher, it is enough children born and bred in America of all nationalities that need love, affection, and attention. And I'm glad that country stopped them from going overseas adopting, because they won't adopt their own, but they will be ready to run somewhere and adopt somebody else's kids, and I got a problem with that.
Well, if your nationality is from a certain country, do you want to adopt in America, or you want to adopt somebody from your country? There's a lot to it. And, you know, when you sit down and spell it out, what is the basis? What is the purpose? What's behind it all? You know, America is a heck of a country in many ways, and in many ways it practices everything dirty that can be practiced. When you talk about black folks in America, even today, the year 2013, why are we still being persecuted? Why are we still being discriminated against? There's a lot to look at. What is causing it? When we look at the black population today, and blacks in America is one of the first races of people in America to learn the books and everything need to be learned. Today, when we look at our kids in Richmond, how many of our kids don't graduate from high school? How many of the kids that died at an early age from crime and everything else that's contributed? But then again, in order to grow, you need doctors. You need to go to a doctor. You can't wait till you get 60 years old to go to a doctor. So when you go to a doctor from a young age and your diseases or whatever you got wrong, which you get cured or get attention, that means your lifespan can be long. But we as blacks don't make enough money to talk about going to a doctor, paying a doctor outrageous fees today. You just can't afford it, so you don't go. When you talk about housing, the poorest of the blacks get housing, but a black who's got a family and trying to raise it, what do he get that he can't pay for? In other words, you got to be able to pay. You're not going to get the same treatment as a poor black. That a woman got 5 or 6 kids, they ain't never been married. The 5 or 6 kids, each one of them might have a different daddy. I mean, what are we dealing with? You're dealing with pure hell. Are we powerful enough to say we ain't gonna have it? I mean, when I came with the kid, we had black neighborhoods. You had neighborhoods where black folks wanted to do things. But then you also got to look at those black neighborhoods were employed by white folks doing jobs that white folks couldn't do. Today, as the population of whites grow, they taking the jobs that blacks been taught to do. You got trades that whites took all the way over and wouldn't allow black to do that kind of work. So when you look at a lot of things in America that's been racially motivated or being done to us to hurt us, what are we able to do against it? In what kind of way can we fight? If you are black and you don't want to take what's going on in America, black folks are against you. You're a troublemaker, you this, you that. So it's a lot that you got to fight against. You might lose your mind trying to survive. It's not an easy thing.
Wow. Wow, Mr. Hatcher, that is powerful.
Well, a lot of it is common knowledge. When you look at a black family, and ain't no two in the family the same color, but yet as a black, you are hateful and nasty towards light-skinned blacks. Of it's light-skinned blacks, they hateful towards dark-skinned blacks. But do you ever stop and look at your own family? I had 5 brothers, each one of us a different color. Mama a different color, daddy a different color. So 7 people in the family, no 2 the same color. It's a lot to look at. And then again, we are involved in every race ever been in America.
Come on.
Everything is mixed into the black race. You know, and you see it in the kids. You know, eventually it comes out. Hell, you get a family and you got 7 people in the family and all 7 of them are different colors. So it's a lot to look at. But we can't understand anything as black folks. We got so much hatred and nastiness. Now we done got so we don't want to work. You want to walk around, you want to sell your dope, you want to take your dope, your mind ain't working right. So what are you ever going to accomplish? You go in business, you can't even hire your own people to work because the hatred and the nastiness in their mind 24 hours a day. You making money off of working me. Do you say that when you work with a white man? He mistreats you today, you go right back tomorrow and ask for some more. So it's a heck of a thing to understand. Can you understand it? Can you learn from it? So it's a lot to look at. We got a black president now. It ain't the first time we've had a black president in America. Today in America, two of the largest churches in America, white churches, got black preachers.
Have a good one.
So when you stop and think about it, you got an all-white church, just about all white, you got a black pastor. You had one out in California, I know of two, one out in California and one up in New York City, on Riverside Drive, around 25th Street up there somewhere. So you got it looking all right. It's not an all-black church, it's a dominant white church, but you got a black preacher. What is going on?
Wow.
That's a heck of a thing when you got a church as large as them two black preachers are, and they got an all-white church.
All white congregation.
Just about all white. And they are well known, those pastors. Well thought of.
Can you tell me their names?
I don't remember the names offhand. So
Daddy,
much,
do you have a bottle of water?
so much to go through.
Huh?
I just brought one out to me.
You got water in there? Can I get some water?
No, this is the last one I have.
Okay. Your name, Uncle Ted, you got a bottle of water?
None.
The nearest place is going to be the public library or city hall to pick up water. But that's no bottle. You'll be able to drink all you want.
Yeah. Wait a minute.